Hey everyone, this is Lori Delgradecki, and today is lesson number 13, the final lesson for Practice Makes Progress. It's talking about rehearsing and defining your delivery. It's going to emphasize the importance of practicing, and the more you practice, the more it's going to offer techniques for effective rehearsal and to help build your confidence and help to polish your presentation. So think about your favorite musical performance. Maybe it's a church somewhere, maybe it's a symphony orchestra, maybe it's some solo artist. But they're standing there perfectly poised. They're executing complex movements, notes with seemingly effortless grace. Or, like, also think about an Olympic athlete, like when you're watching the Olympics. They make a gold medal performance look utterly natural, like almost easy, like you could do it even, right? But you know the truth, that effortlessness is a mirage because it's the result of thousands and thousands of hours of intentional and grueling and detailed practice. And so today we're going to dive into the unglamorous yet absolutely essential final stage of preparation. It's practicing makes progress, rehearsing and refining your delivery. So we've spent several weeks crafting the perfect message, mastering your voice, and controlling your body. Now we're going to forge all those elements into a single polished but yet powerful presentation. So the secret to looking spontaneous and acting confident on any stage is simple. You just practice more than anyone else in the room. So, my goal today is to redefine practice for you. It's not just reading your notes a few times, it's that intentional refinement. We're going to move beyond mindless repetition and equip you with a set of proven techniques for effective rehearsal that will build deep, unshakable confidence and ensure that your presentation is polished to perfection. We're going to start by shifting your mindset about rehearsal and then introduce a practical three-phase system for practice, and finally discuss the crucial steps of redefining your timing by using technology and getting vital feedback. So this is part one. We're going to talk about the mindset shift and why rehearsal is non-negotiable. So why do we practice? Because when you practice, it frees the mind. It's not just so you don't forget your lines. It's about reducing the cognitive load in your brain. You're always thinking about things, right? When you've practiced your material so thoroughly that the words and the transitions become secondary, your brain is freed up to focus on the things that truly matter in the moment. Like when you're talking, you can connect with your audience more. You can watch and pay attention and read their verbal cues or their nonverbal cues. You can also adjust your pace or your tone based on your audience's reaction. But if you're still searching for your next sentence, then you can't connect people with that like that. You can't notice what's going on in your audience. So the practice creates that mental space to allow for that connection. And you also think about lesson 12. Remember anxiety to authority? We talked about turning that fear into fuel. The antidote to crippling stage fright is competence. And so every time you rehearse effectively, you deposit just a little bit more confidence into your mental bank account. When you step on stage, your subconscious doesn't mind saying, oh no, I might mess up. It says, I got this. I've done this 10 times already. And so you have what we call muscle memory. Your vocal delivery, your gestures, your movements, they're all physical actions, right? And so, just like an athlete, you need to build that muscle memory. So, when you practice, that allows your body to internalize the flow, the pauses, and the emphasis, ensuring that when the pressure is on, still your natural polished delivery takes over. You build that delivery muscle. Excuse me. And so next we're going to talk about the art of effective rehearsal. So I have a 3-pass system. So one is content and structure. So the goal of the first pass is strictly content acquisition and timing. So the first thing you want to do is you want to read aloud. You must read your speech aloud and preferably in front of a mirror. Reading silently is totally misleading. It takes about 30% longer to speak your words than it does to read them in your head. And when you do that, you want to focus on the flow. Are your transitions smooth? Does your evidence logically support your points? Don't worry about perfection, but worry about coherence. Does your audience understand what you're saying? Are you getting through to people? And then time yourself. If your speech is supposed to be 45 minutes, does your draft currently run 55 minutes or 35 minutes? Because this is your chance to cut content or you can add in some examples. So use a timer and track your section timings, your intro, your point one, your point two, your conclusion. You should have timings on each section. Okay, and so then now past two, we're going to talk about that's your vocal and your nonverbal delivery. So you add in different layers. This is where you can integrate the previous lessons, your volume, your pitch, the pauses, your gestures. So you want to stand up. You want to practice standing up. If you're doing a podcast and you're going to be sitting down, then that's a different story. But your physical presence changes everything. So if you're normally standing up behind a pulpit on a stage, then you want to practice standing up. And you want to exaggerate your delivery, intentionally exaggerate your vocal variety and your gestures. Over practice helps you settle into that natural dynamic delivery later. If you feel like you're being silly, you're probably doing it more right than you know. And once again, you want to practice pauses. So mark the strategic places where you need that significant pause. like before or after a crucial statistic. Practice the silence. Especially when you're nervous, you could try to read too quickly or go too quickly through your presentation. So you can look at the video, the rehearsal. You can record yourself. You can watch the recording. That's a form of powerful and honest feedback, is just rewatching the recording. Were you rushing? Are your gestures closed? The camera doesn't lie, and it's the fastest way for you to redefine your nonverbals. And then pass number 3 is the dress rehearsal. So simulating reality. It's the most critical step. You must simulate the actual speaking environment as closely as possible. So having a full tech stack, practice along with your slides, with your microphone if you have one, and any other props that you're going to use. Don't simply click through the slides. Speak to them as if you're doing the presentation on stage in front of people. And then stand and deliver. Practice the full speech exactly as you intend to give it, from walking to the center of the stage to how you're going to do the final exit. And that includes whether you're walking up onto a pulpit, whether you're speaking at an event, wherever it is, you want to practice that exact thing. You want to know exactly how it's going to be set up. And then the no notes final test. By this pass, you should be practicing without relying on your full script. You should be speaking from your outline or using cue cards at the most. If you hit a blank wall, you can pause, you can collect yourself, and move on. But practice recovering gracefully. And the more you practice, the more you're not going to have to worry about those cue cards. But even if you have the cue cards, glancing at them is fine. But you should be able to do the presentation without them. So another actionable tool is the feedback loop. Rehearse it in front of a live, trusted audience. Whether it's a friend or a colleague, you can ask them specific questions like, when did I sound most confident? Or where did you feel distracted? You could also do it on Zoom and record it and then re-listen to it. So refining it for that polished, beyond memorization. And you want to master the clock, but you don't want to be ruled by it, right? So most speaking engagements, whether it's in ministry or whether it's in business, there's still a time clock, right? Like you still respectfully want to go by whatever your mark is. So a polished speaker always respects the clock. If you have 45 minutes, you need to hit that mark. You don't need to go less, and you don't need to go more. So think of the 10% rule. Aim for your core content to take up 80 to 90% of that allocated time. This leaves a buffer for engagement, unexpected questions in case that comes up, audience laughter, or even a slightly slower pace due to nerves. And then practice cuts. Know which points or examples are secondary. So if you are running long, or if you're at an event where there's speakers before you and yours ends up getting cut down more, you know exactly where you can smoothly cut them, and especially cut things out mid-speech without missing a beat and without cutting out any important parts. So memorize your ideas, not all the words, right? So the goal is not the memorization of every single word of your speech, because that's going to lead to sounding canned. And it's also going to make you panic if you forget a syllable. The goal is to memorize the sequence of ideas, knowing the topic of point one, the evidence for point two, the closing story for the conclusion. All this is going to allow for authentic and flexible and natural delivery. So, using your rehearsal time, you can plan your blocking. For example, where will you stand during the introduction of you coming on stage? Where and when will you move when you transition to your most persuasive point? What part of the stage or the podium are you going to stand at? And where will you pause and stand still for maximum impact during your speech? Because intentional movement communicates control and confidence. Not moving all across the stage over and over. That makes you look nervous. You want that intentional movement that, once again, communicates control and confidence. So, we've covered the essentials of the rehearsal, shifting your mindset to embrace the energy of practice and using that three-pass system, the content, the delivery, and the simulation, and refining the polish of your timing and your authenticity. But practicing is the bridge. So remember, no great speaker has ever looked effortless just by accident, right? They look effortless because they honored their message enough to dedicate the time to practice it. Practicing is a sign of respect. Respect for your topic, respect for your time, and most importantly, respect for your audience. So I challenge you now to change your relationship with the rehearsal. Stop just reading and start performing. That doesn't mean perform making a bunch of movements and things like that on stage, but it just means perform professionally. Grab your phone, record yourself, and watch the magic happen. When the moment comes, you're not going to need luck because you'll have the confidence, you'll be polished, you'll have the quiet, and you'll have the unshakable confidence that only comes from knowing I am ready. So I hope this has helped you and gets you through more speaking engagements. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, everyone.